And now it's Renovate and Build. 60 minutes dedicated to building and renovating solutions. Here's your hosts, Jim and Sandra.
Good morning and a happy Saturday to you. Welcome to the show. My name is Sandra and I'm joined by the founder and president of Fair Trade Works, Jim Perkins.
Good morning and wow. I was going to say a big wow to start the show off today.
Are you awake over there?
It's hard to believe that yet another week has come by in the Fair Trade Works world here, and we're here in the studio of Renovate and Build. And you know, this is our third episode now, and I just want to say thank you to everybody so much for their support in the infant stages of our show. And as you can imagine, I'm a construction guy, not a radio guy, even though I've been working on my radio voice. How does it sound?
It sounds very British.
So I've had a absolutely massive razzing from all the boys on the construction site.
I'm sure you have.
And all my staff. So it's yeah, I didn't quite think I was expecting all this teasing. But anyway, you never told me that also I'd make so many new friends on the radio, Sandra.
Oh, I bet you have. Which, you know, Jim, sorry, I'm going to take a moment. I might embarrass you here. I'm sorry, but I have to share a quick little story with everyone about little forays that we get you into since you've launched Fair Trade Works. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jim's communications director, and I have been with Jim in this business, helping him launch it way before we actually hit our official launch day, just in the business model planning stage. And as soon as we launched, Jim was asked by West Coast Auction, a women's show, to be in his bachelor auction. It was for a great cause. It was for the Children's Burn Fund. And as his communications director, I had to be very excited, but I was also very clear with them that Jim couldn't join the firefighters prancing their stuff and taking off their shirts to make money. So what I had to do was to say, no, he's going to be wearing a business suit. He's an entrepreneur. He's just getting into the business market here for Fair Trade Work, so we have to be really strict with him. So what do? They put him on the stage first, and of course he's sitting there looking at the sea of women who are screaming and bidding and throwing things at him on the stage.
Take your shirt off.
Take your shirt off. It was a really big eye-opener. The good news is he got the highest bid of the night, so we were excited that he made lots of money. The bad news, and this is the fallout, all of a sudden our Facebooks and our email addresses, everybody started stalking him. So when we started this show, third show in, all I'm thinking is, I hope he makes better friends on AM 650 than he did at the Bachelor auction.
It was a very busy week, Dwayne. It is, you know, and also besides being on the air, you'll see this week that we also had a huge amount of press from the Heritage A Rosemary 16,000 square foot Heritage A home we're fully restoring, and we had great press and articles in the Globe and Mail and the Vancouver Sun recently. So it's been a really thrilling week, and so many people have come forward about their own heritage projects, and new clients and homeowners coming to our offices, stopping by, reaching out to us, calling in. It's just been one of those fun special weeks at Fair Trade Works.
What you wished for, right? Seriously. I mean, connecting people and getting to know lots of new people.
Absolutely, and just ultimately showcasing our true talents, because we have we have nearly 500 companies in our workforce, and we can get stuff done. So that particular project has really showcased our ability to spread our wings and do what we do best, right? So
it's fun. And if you're tuning in for the very first time, Renovate and Build is an hour-long show dedicated to construction education. We have lots of guests we'll be introducing you to, but we want to make it clear that we want to hear from you and answer your questions as well. Because as we all know, if you have a question, we can guarantee that someone else also has that question. So make your suggestions for next week's show by emailing us at radio@fairtradeworks.biz.
a lot of people last week asked questions, so I just thought I'd start the show off with a question right off the bat. And Jean B, who called our offices at 604-264-7366, that's our number, not yours, Jean, so don't worry. Jean heard me talking about fair market value pricing and didn't quite understand that terminology. So, yeah, Jean, that's a great question. And, you know, at Fair Trade Works, of course, we strive to be incredibly different and really rejuvenate the industry. And fair market pricing is one of our biggest mandates at Fair Trade Works, is to create a market value for construction. I always tell a story, analogy that if you, for example, went to a grocery store and bought a loaf of bread and it was $536, you'd know that price point is incorrect. But in construction, nobody really knows what it's worth. You can go online, you can check from what your friends and families tell your neighbors, but there's no real true kind of, market value, and that's what we're really trying to create at Fair Trade Works. And we do that by algorithm systems, really crunching the math, and of course tendering our projects out to a huge number of companies. So it's not the existing kind of model where a general contractor will get his electrician, plumber, carpenter, whatever to bid on it. He puts a markup on top and delivers that to to the consumer. And I strongly believe, and as you know, we all dip from the same labor pool, we all dip from the same vendor pool of materials, so our price point should all be, very similar, and it's who can be the most efficient, who can run the best business and get, manage their employees the best, who makes the most profitable. Well, that's not the case. All these companies just throwing out wild numbers, and we're really trying to abolish that, so consumers are getting consistent pricing along with consistent management and consistent quality, which we insist on at Fair Trade Works.
And most importantly, the transparency of where those numbers came from.
Absolutely. Our bids are, we're extremely transparent with our clients, and we're maths, we're all business people at Fair Trade Works, and we're math freaks, so we love kind of showcasing and opening up our books to show consumers how we kind of derive those numbers. So.
Right. Well, thank you, Jean, for that question. We have a lot more expertise to share with you this morning, a lot more knowledge from Jim. For instance, Patrick Fleck is also going to be by from Fleck Contracting. He's going to be talking to us about the province's new asbestos clampdown on roofers and the correct removal of shingles and what to do with them in construction. Jim, it's a crazy business. The more research I did for the show about asbestos, there's actually offenders who are claiming bankruptcy just to get away with their asbestos fines.
That's absolutely right. And I think we got lots to learn here in Canada about asbestos. In England, we went through the kind of same cycle years ago until the kind of correct abatement legislation came into play and kind of, really cleaned up these problems. Also ahead on Renovate and Build, our product face-off. Today we'll be learning about, wait for it, electrical outlets.
Electrical outlets?
Sounds thrilling.
Well, it can't be very different, can it really? I mean, anyways, I guess we're going to learn, aren't we?
Well, we're going to find out from Meg and Gary, who again are going to be stopping by this hour.
But first, let's head to Kitsilano for neighborhood news. Today's resident reporter for the show is Peter Smith. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Peter, we want our listeners to know that each week we're featuring different communities in and around Greater Vancouver, and this week we're featuring the beautiful Kitsilano. Can you tell us what the main kind of talk on the street is in your neighborhood as far as construction and development?
Well, there's certainly a lot of work going on in the local neighborhood, from commercial to residential development. But one of the key things that has been popping up in Kitsilano is the idea of laneway housing. As you probably know, since about 2009, the city of Vancouver has been really interested in creating more density, as well as adding in some more, I guess you would say, affordable housing for either singles or small families. And so they wanted to add to the pool of what was available, because you get the single-family houses, as we all know from what we've seen in the Globe and Mail and things of that the average home price is just soaring right now, and it's more so with single-family residential than condos. But even condos as an entry level for a lot of people are out of reach, so that leaves people to start to consider rental. And so the laneway houses were a solution for homeowners to start to put in additional rental properties, or they could even just use them for themselves, for the empty nester that might want to move out and let their kids live in the house, so to speak, that sort of deal. And it started out in '09 as an experiment that really just looked at the RS1, the RS5, and in 2013, they expanded it up to basically all the single-family residential types. And I think they're up now about, they've got well over 1,000 applications, and they've actually put in about 800 plus laneway homes. So it's really taken off, and it seems like a really valuable tool. And really, it's looking really great. It's densifying. It's actually taking the laneway and making it more of a usable aspect of a neighborhood. But there has been a few issues along the way. For instance, a couple of people back in 13 and earlier, they were applying for an HST, GST rebate. And in the end, because of home prices, it turned into a little bit of a debacle for some people. They would apply to the revenue agency for their rebate, and then they found out that through the evaluation of properties, which is really difficult in this case because you're really not subdividing or stratifying your property. So you're looking at it, and they're sort of willy-nilly trying to figure out, okay, what's the value of the land that this house sits on, this new one, so they can take the construction cost, but then they try to actually figure out what the land cost is underneath it, and there's really no rules yet. So some people were getting stuck with, instead of thinking they're going to get a rebate from a builder, which is still available up to $450,000, they were basically getting assessment of an increased tax value. So I guess the lesson I would take away from something like that is that when you do a laneway house, you really want to do it because either you want an additional space for your family, or you're really going to consider it because you want to create the additional income stream as a rental property.
Peter, it must be exciting as an architect for you to be able to add character to homes through these laneway homes, whether they be, the heritage style or just even the modern design.
Oh yeah, they've got a fair amount of rules, but even within the rules, and as an architect, you love these sort of constraints because once you know the rules, that's when you can start really playing with things and coming up with interesting ideas. But yeah, most of the ones that you'll see in Kitsilano are going to be of the sort of more heritage, shall we say, end of things. Most of them look sort of craftsman-y, that sort of style. But if you expand beyond the Kitsilano area, there are a few examples of some really nice, modern-looking laneway houses, and now you have to put some greenery on the laneway, of course, so now you get this nice dual streetscape on the property, and I see the future of this, that the city will probably want people to add even more to the laneways, so I can see this in the future, perhaps having a small sidewalk down both sides of the laneways, and perhaps even some nice lighting that either would be with the residents or might be on some of the poles that go down the laneway. And you could really start to think of this as a new urban space. And that, to me, and the idea of the density and making all of our streets, even our laneways, safe is, from an urban perspective, it's just a great idea. And it's opens up a lot of work to a lot of architects and residential builders as well, because it's there's so many single-family homes that are available for this. Most lots in Vancouver are either 32 plus 33 feet or 50 by 122. So those are sort of the standard Vancouver lot. And that'll give you a laneway home between 600 and 40-ish to 900 square feet. It maxes out at 900, at least for the moment. You never know when future amendments might come along that will allow that to increase. But they're trying to protect, of course, the character of existing stock of houses. But it's really exciting to look at this and to think that you might even start to see these laneways be these beautiful spaces in the future.
Well, thank you. It is exciting.
That's right, Peter. I completely agree with you. No, not just a cat in a garbage can soon. I totally agree that these kind of laneway spaces are going to, like you said, eventually develop into new to thoroughfares with this new kind of streetscape. So anyway, thanks so much, Peter. We've been speaking to Peter Smith, who's principal of Anyone Architecture and Design, and now our resident neighborhood news reporter. If you'd like to
There's still lots more ahead. This is Renovate and Build, powered by Fair Trade Works, with Jim and Sandra.
/renovate-build, or you can email us at radio@fairtradeworks.biz.
Next week on Neighborhood News, we'll be heading across the street to Vancouver Island to speak with Mike Curvell.
Lots more to come on Renovate and Build, right back after the break.
There's still lots more ahead. This is Renovate and Build, powered by Fair Trade Works, with Jim and Sandra.